Okay. So in today's lecture, what we'll be covering today is going to be participle perfect. Okay. In today's lecture, we'll be covering participle perfect for today. Okay, let me just write down the date. Today is the 19th of November, 2025. So let me know if the writing is readable for you.
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. So tell me your perspective about participle perfect first. What do you know about participle perfect? Okay, first of all, let's start from the ground up. What is participle perfect in English?
That it's
Hmm.
present perfect tense.
Okay, it's the present perfect tense. What's common about the present perfect tense? Hmm? What's common about the present perfect tense?
We talk about something in the past that has already happened.
So if I say I went to the park, for example, yesterday, is this a present perfect tense? I went to the park. Listen, hear me out again. I went to the park yesterday. Is it present? Sorry, is it present past tense or is it past tense only?
But it is uh,
Mm-hmm.
tense present past.
Okay, so you're saying it is present past. Hmm?
Yes,
Okay, reason for that?
because it has already finished and it's in past.
Okay, so and similarly, may I ask you why is it not just simple past tense?
Uh, I'm not sure. So
Okay, just any idea about the difference between past tense, like past simple past tense and past perfect tense? Let's write it down. Simple past. Screen's visible, right? Perfect. Okay. What's the difference? Okay. Let me just tell you. Let me just tell you. I'm going to give you two sentences. I went to the park. Okay. Second sentence, I have been to the park. Any conclusion that you can draw from here? What will be the first one?
mm,
First of all, just tell me, both of these sentences, is this something talking about the past?
yes,
Okay,
both of
so
them.
first point cleared. It is both of these sentences are talking about the past. However, however, you would understand that there's a difference in usage. You cannot say that both are completely identical or both are completely synonyms of each other and they can be used alternatively. They cannot be used alternatively. Hmm? They're used for different purposes. They're used for different purposes, okay?
Okay, sir.
You agree with me? Okay. So I went to the park. See here, I have changed the verb from go to went. Agree?
Yes,
Okay. So I changed the verb itself. The verb went from go or going is a present tense verb. It became went when I wanted to switch into past tense. Okay. However,
yes.
I have used something very different over here. And you'll notice this a lot while making past perfect tenses, okay? While making past perfect sentences, you'll see the usage of have been, okay?
Yes.
You see that have been or has been, okay? Have been. or has is used almost everywhere. Actually, it is used everywhere in past perfect sentences. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what do we draw from this? First of all, we're going to go completely easy on this. Okay? I have been to the park. You're talking about something while you're in the present. Okay? While you're in the present, you're talking about something you have previously done. Okay?
Yes.
Okay? While you're in the present. In past, simple past tense, you're just referring to something that you did, or you can say that you usually do. Okay? I went to the park. That's something I might usually do or I might have done for the instance. Whereas I have been to the park, someone is probably asking you about it. Okay, where have you been?
Yes.
I have been to the park. You will not say, like if I say, where did you went? Where did you went to? You will not say, I have been to the park. You will say, I went to the park. There's, a bit of change in how you're going to phrase your answers. Okay, if someone asks you, where have you been? You'll answer them with, I have been to the park. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, a simple distinction in English on how these sentences are in English. Let us move on to German now. So, in German, of course, past perfect, past perfect is participle perfect in German. No surprise, very obvious. So, here's how the structure goes in German. Okay. First of all, what if you recall the basic sentence structure that we studied? Okay, the basic sentence structure. What exactly comes first? What has the first position?
Uh, yes.
Subject. So you say subject. Okay, subject. Okay, subject. Okay, okay. And you say this is
Yeah.
what? This has the first
Position.
position. Good. Then what comes in the second position?
To that.
The verb. Okay. So verb. Which position is this?
This is the second position.
Second position. Right now, we're not going to talk about what verb, verb, and all that. Let's just write it down, okay? We'll build on the basic sentence structure. First, we'll write down the basic sentence structure and understand what modifications are being done to that it becomes a participle perfect. We're not going to learn a different sentence structure. Okay, I'm not going to call it a different sentence structure because technically it isn't a different sentence structure. It is the same sentence structure that has been modified. Okay, now
Yeah.
let's
Okay.
go for what is the third one?
Object.
Object. Sehr, sehr gut. And object has the exactly dritte Position. Sehr gut. Okay, now let's go for the modification now, shall we? I'm going to write the modifications in, let's say, yellow. I will write it down. Modifications are done in yellow. Okay. Now, subject remains in the first position, no change. Okay. Agree with me?
Yes. Sir.
Okay. Now, Verben. What do you think? Like, can I use treffen? Can I use trinken, machen, laufen, schlafen, schnellen? All of these verbs. Are they all applicable for participle perfect?
Yes.
No, no. The second position verb. The
Not
second.
the second.
Okay, yes. I'm asking about the second position only. For the second position verb, do you think I can put in any verb for participle perfect?
Nine.
Nein. What can was kann ich benutzen?
Two auxiliary verbs. Haben oder sein.
Okay. Oh, is color is visible, right? Or not? Okay, sehr gut. Auxiliary verbs, and what are they? Forms of, not just haben or sein, forms of
Yeah.
haben oder sein. Okay, now what does it include? It includes bin, bist, hat, sind, all of them. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Sehr cool. Now, other than that, object. Do you think there is any change to the object? I mean, what change can occur to the object?
Not really.
No change. Sehr gut. And tell me, am I complete over here? Just tell me if I'm
Nine.
complete or not. Okay, good. I'm not complete over here. There's something left. What is that? Look, do you remember modal verbing? Do you
Yeah.
remember modal verbing? Yeah. So, what was the concept in modal verbing? If I take you back to it, just give me a second. Let me take you back to modal verbing for a minute. If you remember in modal verbing, I had mentioned a particular clause. Let me just show you. I had mentioned that modal verben are special type of verbs which do not complete a meaning of sentence on their own, but enhance the meaning when they're used along with the verb. They do not complete the meaning of a sentence on their own. Okay.
Yes.
So, do you think that the meaning of my sentence is completed after I have used either a form of sein or haben?
Nine. Nie.
Nine. Sehr gut. So, what will I be needing? I'll be needing another verb. Okay? I'll be needing another verb. How? Let me just write this down. Let me write down main verb.
The
Okay.
verb plus verb.
Hmm?
Plus full verb. Main verb.
Yeah. Full verb. I'll come to that. I'll come to that. Don't worry about it. I'll come to the full meaning of the main verb and all that. Okay? No worries. Now, does this mean verb come exactly and as simply it does in modal verb? Okay, but you just put it at the end. No changes, no nothing. You just put the infinitive base form at the end. Is that true?
Like this.
Leider nicht. Ja, sehr gut. Leider nicht. You know, if German was that easy, I mean, half of our problems would have been solved. All of us would have been in German. Now,
Yeah.
what did we put? We got GE at the start of it, okay?
Yeah.
GE. And then GE is what? GE is a suffix. You know what suffix is? No, sorry, it's a prefix. Not a suffix. It's a prefix. You know what prefixes are? Remember?
Yeah.
You learned them back in grade, I don't know, 4, 5, something like that. Okay? And then the opposite of prefix is what? It is suffixes. Hmm? Remember suffixes?
Yes.
So en or t are what? Suffixes for us. Okay? Now, I'll come to the formation of these verbs in a little while. What is the position of this verb, first of all?
Uh, Pearson. Position.
Okay. If I, for example, take two objects, one object will take the first position, one object will take the third position, the other will, of course, take the fourth position. Does this mean the verb goes to the fifth position, or does it mean that the verb will stay in the fourth position and the object will go in the fifth position?
Nine. Das ist nicht so.
Yeah. How about if I say, considering the fact that there are an unlimited number of objects in our sentence, I want to mention a banana, coconut milkshake, I want to mention a book, I want to mention a phone, I want to mention this laptop, I want to mention this box right here, I want to mention a lot of things. And I say that these places, these objects figure out their placements themselves. This verb, the main verb, will go at the end of all of them. arm ending.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the position, I do not call it the fiat position, fiatin position. I call it arm ended. Why? There can be more than one object. Hmm? So will
Yeah.
that take the fiat position or the filter position? I can ask you that. Hmm? So I just call it
Yeah.
arm ended. Okay. At the end. Yeah?
Flat. Flat.
Yeah.
Flat.
So anything you would like to ask regarding the sentence structure?
Nine.
Nine. Okay. Let me just see that. This is sentence structure. Okay. Good. Now we are going to move on to a bit of formation of main verb. Okay, formation of the main verb, the arm-ended one that we used. Okay. By the way, did you like the type notes better or these ones better?
What's that?
Did you like the type this one, this format better or this one format better? This one. There. Now, formation of main verbs. Let's go on to that. First of all, what? GE. Okay, GE. And one more thing, let me just tell you. If I already told you guys before, any rule that I'm telling you in German, treat, German like your chemistry. Okay. Do you remember in chemistry, they used to have a rule for 10 of the elements, and then we would have to rote memorize the property of 90 others or 100 others. Do you remember that? Hmm? Yeah. And it is like that. Whatever rule that we have, it never applies 100%. Never be too sure about any rule that we learn over here, okay? It never applies 100%. When I say GE, let me ask you, do you know the German word for to get, like to get something? Bekommen,
Become.
bekommen. Do you think this will become gebekommt in participle perfect?
Nine.
No. It says become, T ending. That's it. Ich
Yeah.
habe meine Schlüssel bekommen. That's it. Not ich habe meine Schlüssel bekommen. No. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are always exceptions. However, the rules that I'm telling you, it always applies to like a very decent number of uh, for a very decent number of vocabulary. Okay. If I say GE is at the beginning for 85 to 90%, that is the case. Okay. Or maybe even
Yeah.
95. Okay, I don't know each and every verb that exists in the German language that may or may not use GE, but for the most that I know, and I know a lot, so it does apply. So first we got GE, then main verb, and then E or E. Let's dissect this, each of them separately. Okay, now first of all, we got GE, which is our prefix. Okay, and like I told you before, 85% to 90%, somewhere like that. It doesn't have to come up everywhere. Like, let me give you an exception, like gekommen becomes, ja, besuchen, Besuch, sehr, sehr gut. Gekommen becomes bekommen in participle perfect. Similarly, besuchen does not become gebesucht, it just becomes besucht. Okay, telefonieren, yeah, sehr gut, yeah. Telefonieren, and the list goes on, my brother. Okay, the list goes on. Okay, but however, there will be like Rufin can become Giruf. Okay, Rufin will stay Giruf. Okay, it will follow the rule. You'll actually, I think you're catching on to the type that is going to have GE and the type which is not going to have GE, right? Are you catching on to that type? Hmm?
Yeah.
I think you're catching this on.
Yes.
Just give me a minute. Okay, let's start again. So, GE. I think you're catching on to the type because I mean it doesn't even sound good. Yeah. Gay become कहें या gay bezoek कहें या gay telephonarian कहें. However, Giruft seems fine.
Yeah.
Hmm? Okay. Talk. Say that talk. Okay. Now, let's go on to the main part. Sorry, the main part. Okay. Now, what about this exactly? अगर मैं आपको एक verb दूं, frog, okay? मैं आपको एक verb देता हूँ, frog. I can dissect this into two parts. How? The frog part and the en part. Can you tell me what can I call them, or what is the basis of segregation for this? Can you tell me on what basis have I actually? I'm just gonna write it down. So in the verb fragen is the complete verb. Agree with me? Hmm? Okay. Now, Fragen is I'm just dissecting Fragen into two parts. How? Into frog and into the Ian part. You know what the Ian part is, right? Hmm? You remember what the Ian part is? Ian part is the conjugable part of the verb. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas Fragen is the main part of the verb. Okay. If you recall, why do we call irregular verbs irregular? The reason for that is conjugable part में तो conjugation we are expecting a conjugation in that. However, however, जब एक मेन पार्ट ऑफ द वर्ड के अंदर कुछ चेंज आ रहा होता है, कोई मॉडिफिकेशन आ रही होती है, we do not call it a conjugation, we call it an irregularity because we do not expect a change in the main part of the verb. The main part of the verb should be expected to remain how it is. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let me just give you an example. If I've got lazy, so lazy is the main part of the verb. So I'll give you schlafen. What is the main part of the verb here? So I'll give you laufen. What is the main part of the verb? Lauf. Okay. So what are you going to write when you get the just okay. So when I write main part of the verb here, what are you going to write? The whole fragen or just frog? The whole lesen or just lays?
The frog.
Just frog or just lays or just schlaf.
Okay.
Now let's hit on to the last part, which is the E or EN. Okay. Okay. Now let's hit on to the last part, which is E or EN. How do we decide between T or EN? Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay. Can you guide me through it?
So it means there's a regular or
Okay. Now, E is used when it's an irregular verb. Am I correct?
lazy. Yes.
If it's an irregular verb, I'm going to use T.
Yes.
If it's an irregular verb, I'm going to use T.
None.
No, nice.
You will have to use ear.
So then it is what, regular or irregular?
And it is regular.
And it is regular. verb used. Okay. And what about this?
Partizip.
And the irregular verb is used. Okay. So
Yeah.
regular, irregular. Agree? Hmm?
Sorry, sir.
Agree with me? E for regular and irregular. Good. Now what we are going to focus on? We are now going to focus on creating and making these verbs. Okay. Now we're going to make the common ones, not the exception ones. Okay. You guide me through it. First step. What is the first step?
Right.
What is the first step of making this verb? The GE.
Determine the first verb or an irregular verb.
Okay, I was actually thinking about going very so first one using GE as a prefix, but of course, let's just establish that. Okay, G is obvious. We're going to have
Yeah.
a GE. Okay, then first of all, tell me the verb which you are going to use. What is the verb which you are going to use?
The main, the,
What is
the main verb.
no, I'm just saying, just give me an example of a verb that you're going to use in
Oh,
an example
nothing.
sentence.
Nothing.
Okay. Let's say nothing. Okay. Then what are you doing?
Then you take the main part of
Take main
which is part.
part of the verb. Okay. And as we said, the main part of machen is what? It's ma. Okay.
Part.
It's ma. Okay. Now, so should I add it over here? Should I bring it over there?
Yes.
Okay. So I have added it with GE. Now, what do I need to
Now, uh, now you should be committed to select.
do? Okay. Determine whether it's uh, irregular or regular verb. Okay. Now you tell me, is it an regular or irregular verb? Okay. Based on that, based on this, you decide to use T or EN. Okay. Based on this,
Yes.
you decide whether it's T or EN. What did we say? T is for regular and EN is for irregular. Which one am I going to use? Okay. So let's look at it again. Okay. So first of all, I'm color coding all of this. GE. Please. Done. Hmm?
Yes.
Just a minute. Let me just. Okay. So we have used E over here as the prefix. Then what do we have? We have our main part of the verb. Okay. Ma. Okay.
So,
Then we used T. Cloud.
yeah.
Okay. That's all that we have regarding our participle perfect. Okay. Any questions so far? That is all.
9.
Okay. I know it's pretty handful, but that is all we got. It is another page of PDF. It will show you how it is. It looks like oh yes, oh sorry. I totally forgot to tell you the difference between Ryzen and Griffin. We'll go just over that quickly. Okay. How do we decide whether to use Harbin or design? Hmm? Harbin or design? Tell me, do you know?
That
Hmm? Tell me.
we on the note package we just have and design usually when there is
Okay. How about it? Since Zion is for movement, Harbin is for no movement. Sounds easier?
yes,
Hmm? Okay, cool.
yes,
So Harbin is used when there is no movement in a sentence, okay? Kann ich bitte eine Cola haben? Am I moving somewhere in this sentence? Am I locomoting somewhere in this? Do you know locomotion? To move. Hmm?
yes,
Okay. And form of Zion is the complete opposite when there is movement. Okay.
yes.
Okay. That is the only difference. Like for example, I say, Ich bin nach Deutschland gereist. Have I moved in this sentence?
Yes.
Germany. I've traveled to Germany. That is why I'm saying I'm using bin. I'm not using habe nach Deutschland gereist. And that is the main problem that students face. The problem is मैंने कि जैसे आपको बताया we use have has been or have been in our English sentences, okay? We do not use is participle perfect. However, in German we have this distinction that we have um if we have, for example, mission, then it is going to be haben. However, if there is movement, we are going to use a form of sein. Okay?
Yes.
Sehr gut. Okay. Just give me a minute. Do I have some more space? Okay. I just want to get all of these on one place. Let me just tell you one small thing. Let me bring it to the other page. Now, regarding irregular, sorry, irregular, I'm saying, regarding trennbare person. Okay. Okay. Trennbare participle. What do you think? Have you done this, by the way? Like, for example, I told you about I want to um change the word, I want to use the word schlafen in a participle perfect sentence. So what do? You put GE, okay, you put G. Then schlafen is the main part of the verb. You put schlaf together, GE, geschlaf. Okay, clear till here. Then I select that schlafen is an irregular, since you know the A and A umlaut difference, it is an irregular verb. So I use what? I'm going to use EN. So what do? Geschlafen. Clear? Clear with this verbal example?
Yes, sir.
Okay. However, if I want to say I have tidied up my room, do you remember the I have cleaned up my room for tidy up or clean up?
I
It was aufräumen.
Aufräumen. Okay.
Remember, we did it in Trennbare Web. Ich habe Zimmer, mein Zimmer aufgeräumt. Sorry, ich räume auf. Mein Zimmer auf. Remember? Mein Zimmer, sorry, I keep using participle perfect. Ich räume mein Zimmer auf. Okay? So,
Yeah.
if I want to get participle perfect, what do I do in that? Okay? First of all, follow the same steps as before.
Yeah.
Okay? All you need to do is start. Before that, split the verb and you know where to split it from. Okay? Away the prefix of what? Take away the prefix of what? The trend bar verb. Like for example, it's aufräumen, so you take out off. If it's su machen, so you take away su. Okay? And by all the modifications, the working that we have to do on the main part of the verb. By main part of the verb, I mean if auf is the prefix, then räumen is the main part of the verb in trend bar. Okay? Sorry if it doesn't make you confused. Real part of verb. Okay? Once you're done, attach the prefix back to the beginning. ओके एक पूरा थॉट प्रोसेस लिखा है मैंने ऐसा करते नहीं है कोर्स हम लोग but I've just written down the whole thought process. How do we do it? If I take for example, just give me a minute. Okay. Am I audible back again? Hello, am I audible? Believe. Hello, am I audible? Believe, am I audible? You aren't answering me. Hello, Believe, am I audible?
Can't lights and
Uh,
so hard in heart.
okay, okay. Kein Problem, kein Problem. Let's start now, shall we?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Start now. No, I've told you the thought process of everything, following the same steps as before, but before splitting the verb, take away the prefix and do all the working that I did right over here. Okay. All of this working. Okay. All of this, all that being part of the verb, and then attach the prefix back to the beginning. Okay. Let's let me take you through it all. Okay. How? Let's take this. If we work on Sumagen, let's single one. Okay. What are we going to do? You're going to take Su and throw it in the trash temporarily. Okay.
understand.
Okay. So, and then what are we going to do? We're going to take the main part, the main part, which I call it. Okay. Then do all of the things that I told you. It's the dash GE, the main part is small, and then since it is irregular, so T. Okay. All of this done. Then you take it out of the trash. Okay. So this, this was the trash bin, and throw the trash first of all. So what you do is that you reattach it right here. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so what does it become? Zugemacht. Okay, ich
Yeah.
habe die Tür zugemacht. I closed the door. Klar. Anything to ask? If I, for example, say, tell me about Aufräumen, can you tell me quickly?
Um, okay. Yeah.
Aufgeräumt. Sehr, sehr gut. Ja, sehr, sehr gut. If I say, start finden, gefunden. Start gefunden. Okay. In fact, we're not going to touch on that. We're going to touch it on. Let me tell you, however, that there is something called irregular, okay, something called irregular participle perfect. Okay, now this is not a regular irregular verbs. This is not the irregular verbs that we've done over here. So it's got a paradoxical statement, irregular
Oh,
regular verbs. Okay, the participle perfect. Okay, let me give you an example. How about getrunken? Okay, drinking becomes what? It does not become get drinking. It becomes what? Getrunken. What is the irregularity? Okay, exactly. If I take one more, just for now, I'm not going to do this detail. So, betroffen. Hmm? Where does it come from? Treffen, okay. What is the irregularity?
yeah. Oh,
Oh, sehr gut. Sehr gut. Now, everything understood here? Any questions?
nine.
That's all for now. Sorry, just a minute.